A graph is a common way to present information in a visual format. Here we have two common types of graphs, the line graph and the bar graph. But they're similar in many ways. Notice here they both have a title, like income versus education. Or the title could be something longer, like a comparison of average income with levels of education. But it still means the same thing. And this title over here is money spent on groceries monthly. So in both types of graphs, you have an x-axis and a y-axis. The x-axis is the horizontal line. So notice here, education is the x-axis and income is the y-axis. Here we don't have lines drawn, but you can still see here the month of the year is the x-axis and the money spent each month is the y-axis because that's vertical, it's up and down. Generally, the x-axis, this line right here, represents the independent variable. That's the variable that the writer can move around. So here, whoever made this graph, for education they could put high school, bachelor's degree, master's degree, and doctorate. And so they're setting out the different levels of education. But notice if there's an independent variable, there also has to be a dependent variable. Whoever's writing something, whoever's constructing a graph can't have two independent variables. In other words, they can't choose what both of the variables are going to end up being. So if they choose high school to be right here, they don't decide what the income level for high school is going to be. They have to research that and figure out what that is. So the y-axis is generally the dependent variable and depends on whatever the independent variable is. So the same case is that over here. The constructor of this graph set out January, February, March, and April to be plotted along the x-axis. So this is the independent variable, and the dependent variable is the money spent each month. The person who made this graph doesn't get to decide how much money was spent on each graph because they're just reporting what was already spent. So basically the difference between these two graphs is just how the information is presented within the graph. So here we have a line graph, and so it's basically what it sounds like. It's a line. So these points right here are plotted in different areas. So say this mark right here was high school. That was the level of education. And the income right here is $36,000. And so there's a point put right here. And then this next one is an associate's degree. And so the income level is $54,000. So a point is put right there. And then a line is used to connect those two dots. And the same goes all the way down with different levels of education. And the lines are used to connect the dots to see the general flow of how the income level is changing as education changes. Now over here, we have a bar graph. And so basically, like for January right here, we're looking at how much money was spent in January. And so this bar right here is going to raise as high as the amount of money that was spent. So say $80 was spent. Notice here this bar ends at about the $80 mark. But over here in April, over $200 was spent in that month for groceries. So the line exceeds $200 to maybe, I don't know, $240 right there. And so that's how that is represented. So there's pros and cons to using a line graph or a bar graph. It really is up to how the writer of the graph wants to present the information. But a line graph is generally better for seeing flow over time, to see if something remains constant or if it rises or falls. Whereas a bar graph is more focused just on that particular variable. So like in January, how much did groceries cost? It's not so much concerned with comparing the different months. It's just seeing, okay, in February, how much money was spent. See, if this information was presented in a line graph, the focus would be on the rise and fall of amounts spent on groceries, because you would see in January it was down here, then the graph raises up for February and falls for March and rises again for April. So basically, you're presenting the same information in either graph. It's just the focus of the information is different.